Are you tired of the same old sports media? Are you tired of hot takes, arguments, and questions that are just completely off base?
Luckily, we have something for you. Touchdowns and tangents of the people, for the people, by people who care about the culture and all its concise commentary.
What's up, good people? Live from my house. We're now late, but we're here. Got delayed for a number of reasons, mainly technology. My computer was acting like a hoe, and then also
Some lost cords.
And also, we might have got distracted by a Madden fantasy draft.
Pete has like a blood feud vendetta because he lost a heartbreaking game in overtime in Madden, where like the safeties were so afraid of me going deep that they left the middle of the field wide open. And yeah, Dawson Knox game winning touchdown. 15.
Yeah, but you left out the point that
where you stupidly like
that
deferred,
I was actually
you won the toss and then deferred it.
Yeah, you left out the point where I was actually, was down by 21 with 2.5 minutes left and came back.
And like I was throwing it, and Ron Miller made like a one-handed interception and returned it 48 yards for a touchdown, which would never happen in real life. That's why Madden punishes QBs too much for bad throws, because most of these DBs aren't doing that superhuman shit. They're just not. Like they're really not. Like the speed ratings are off.
Except for that dude from the Colts, he did that shit.
Yeah, he's the only one who should be allowed to make spectacular interceptions like that, because nobody else is doing that shit. Like that's my problem with Madden. Is the speed ratings are off.
Well, they kind of
overall ratings are off because we saw what a couple of LSU Patrick Queen's speed rating. Hell, I told you what his rating was, and it was like it's not even a 78. It was like a 76.
Well, what I was going to say...
He made a Pro Bowl. He has a 76 Madden rating.
Yeah, that is really disrespectful. But yeah, overall, I just thought it was funny because, like, they kind of did the same thing in Madden, like, 5 years ago when Odell was on the cover. They made it, like, super campy to, like, throw deep passes and catch deep passes. And that's kind of what they've done on defense, like, the past couple of years.
They've kind of eliminated, like, an elite pass rush. So it's all
they definitely have, yeah.
Like defensive ends are inconsequential in Madden unless you're playing the run. And even then, they're still consequential because it says, oh, he's a pass rusher. Well, it's like, if I can't use the speed...
You have to learn the controls. It took me a minute because they're different. But, yeah.
It's very...
Like, when you push R and L, it does different things. And then the way you push the joystick, it does different things. It's not just like before where it was like, you push the right joystick to the right and he rips right or he rips left. It's like, if you push it to the right, he bull rushes. If they push it to the left, he rips. If you push it up, he spins. Or it's... I forget what the exact controls are, but it's a little less. It's a little less intuitive and a little bit more nuanced at the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, man just kind of needs to work on that. And yeah, their speed ratings, like cats run 240s at defensive end and don't get the proper speed rating.
Outside of that,
I just sneezed and coughed. Oh, shit.
All right, so there was a good amount of news this week. A lot of shit that we got to talk about, but...
A lot of great news, actually.
First thing...
Scary Terry got paid.
Yes, indeed. 3 years, $71 million. He said he feels even more motivated now. Good for him. I think he had all the leverage there. What were they going to do? Not pay him?
Because they didn't want... You can't draft Jahan Dodson in the first round and then not pay Scary Terry. Because then Jawan's like, well, you're not gonna pay me. when the time comes either.
Yeah, and you don't want to just not get anything like the Titans.
Yeah. Screwed the pooch on that one.
But yes, good for him.
Who did they end up taking? Did they take? Damn, I forgot. They took a possession receiver with that pick. The dude out of Arkansas. They took Traylon Burks with that pick. Which kind of fits our offense, I mean, unless, good old-fashioned Tannehill.
Is he nice, though? Like,
He's nice. He's really
Because
nice.
A.J. Brown, when they got him, he wasn't even supposed to really go that low. He kind of fell.
He did fall. He runs a 4.55. Some people, Mike Irvin, called him a big tight end, and I'm like, dude, he's a receiver. He's like, he might have a Des Bryant type route tree, where he's really good at running hitch routes, like really like running routes that'll get a DB off of him. But yeah, man, that's dope. Scary Terry, from what he did at the Senior Bowl to being the player he was at Ohio State, playing special teams his senior year, becoming a captain, balling out, and then proving that once he ran that 4.3, everybody was like, oh crap. And then he runs the 4.3 and he has the tape, and then he just comes on as a rookie. He saved me in fantasy my rookie year. I want to get him the next year. That didn't really work out as planned, but salute to Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry. He deserves to get paid 3 years, $71 million. He got $28 million a year. So salute to him.
Other news from the week: Deshaun Watson watch.
So pretty much one of the victims, they're suing the NFL because they're like, you enabled his behavior. Like I said a couple weeks ago, the bigger issue, this is bigger than Deshaun Watson. This could ultimately lead to Goodell getting fired, possibly the ownership for the Texans being forced to sell, and honestly the biggest civil rights lawsuit in probably American history, like sexual harassment lawsuit. If it becomes a class action suit, and like everybody, like
if Deshaun gets off
the Washington Redskins situation and the Deshaun Watson victims and all these other past victims come together on a class action tip, and like the NFL harbors sexual harassment and encourages it based off, look what Deshaun Watson did. Look what Washington. By the way, we haven't even gotten to the Washington news yet. We're gonna save that for later in the show, but in that case, like, sex trafficking went on. Like, people's lives were in danger. Hell, Phil came on here and told you, yeah, my brake line was cut. He interviewed one of the victims, like one of the main victims from that situation. Who would cut Phil's brake lines? Come on.
Yeah, so they're saying a decision probably won't be made for at least a couple more weeks.
And the players' union is backing Deshaun. Like, he sat out a whole year. That's enough of a punishment already. He technically could have played this whole time, but he chose to sit out.
I mean, I would have chose to sit out from the Texans too, but
yeah,
I feel you.
But like, he chose to sit out. All that stuff happened, and he settled with 20 of the 24 people. So
if he gets off,
it says
if he gets off, how many happy endings are there total?
I mean, we'll never know.
Asking for a friend.
You shouldn't be asking for a friend. That's how RICO charges happen. But and the crazy thing with the charges, like, once all the lawsuits are settled, the charges are all dismissed. So since in the court of law the charges are dismissed, he was never proven to have committed all the stuff that he got accused of. Because somebody can accuse you of murder, but then you guys come to an agreement and realize it wasn't really murder, or somebody gets pleaded down, or even if somebody takes you to court and they spell your name wrong in the documents, the whole case can get thrown out. Like the Suge Knight case, where he murdered a dude on camera. We saw it. He ran him over. That case got thrown out. 7 years, mistrial. He's technically going to get out and be free to walk around. Suge Knight. So, how we feel and how legalities work are two different things. And in this particular case, Deshaun Watson...
He gonna start an NIL agency. Bet, bro.
No, it won't be
Bet.
NIL. It won't be NIL.
Bet, bro.
It won't be NIL. If he was smart, he would go to work done and start building battered, sheltered homes for women all over the country. If he was smart.
You think Suge Knight's gonna do that?
No, I wasn't talking about Suge Knight.
No, I was talking about Suge Knight. Suge
I'm
Knight's
not
gonna
talking about
start
Suge Knight because I ain't got nothing to say. I already said whack is a thing. You're not gonna have me going at Suge Knight too. That man ain't done nothing to me. You already got knocked out in the barbershop.
I'm just saying.
He got knocked out at a club in Arizona. Like, he's been knocked out about 4 or 5 times. Like, and the dude's blind and shit. He's about to die. He has diabetes. Yeah, I don't need the karma. I'm over getting my ass whooped by sinuses and pollen outside. So I don't really need that heat, so to speak. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to the situation, he's essentially Deshaun. All the charges are going to be dismissed once all the last 4 charges pretty much go away. However they're going to go away. However it's completed. Whether people are made whole or not, that's still up to, for debate. But people say, oh, he deserves to be suspended. He's going to be suspended. Like, man, if they put too harsh of a penalty on Deshaun Watson, he could turn around and sue the NFL. And just literally say, okay, well, let's break open this Washington Redskins situation. Daniel Snyder, who, by the way, has purposely neglected to show up to federal court to interview with the Oversight Committee over multiple charges. Some of it money laundering, potentially. Sex trafficking, accusations, rape, all types of stuff. Under his umbrella, under his watch. Like, that's enough of a RICO charge to put a lot of people away. Because if money, drugs, alcohol, if any of the combination were involved, then you can get federal charges. And then it's a problem. I mean, this could be the first time we see a billionaire actually go down. I mean, it's bad enough that fucking Maxwell chick somehow got less years than R. Kelly, even though she was actually sex trafficking young girls and doing way more shit than like Jeffrey Epstein's right-hand person. I don't understand how one person gets 30 years.
There's kind of rumors of R. Kelly doing some sex trafficking cult shit too.
Okay, but still, R. Kelly
and like known for like 20 years.
Global sex trafficking. Like, there's a fucking pedophile island. Like, the whole Epstein situation. Like, he has presidents' names on his ledger. Like,
yeah, I'm just not going to cop a plea for Robert.
I'm not copping a plea, but I'm saying, holy shit, how did this chick only get 20 years? How much dirt does she know? She might get killed in prison, too. She must have she must have snitched on a lot of people and given up some wild-ass crazy dirt to only get 20 years. Because we didn't hear this woman until this Epstein shit popped up. So what I'm saying is, the NFL has to tread lightly in the Deshaun Watson case, because they could be like, okay, we could hit Deshaun Watson with the bigger issue, the bigger charge, but then
honestly, everything you're talking about is just speculation. You're not a lawyer. You're not in the negotiations, so we won't really know what's going to happen.
If they come down harder on Deshaun Watson than they do Daniel Snyder, it's going to be a problem. And I don't think they're going to lose that, so they got to tread lightly.
I mean, we've talked about it a little bit before, but Snyder's not ducking the testimony. I think if anything, the NFL. No, he said he wants to show up.
But he didn't.
I think the NFL doesn't want him to show up. If anything,
because the Oversight Committee said he just refused to show up. So that's why I said there's the NFL, there's Daniel Snyder, and nobody's bigger than the Shield, right?
All right. Moving on, other news. A little bit more of a somber note, but rest in peace Marlin Briscoe, first black quarterback to play in the AFL for the Broncos, 2-time Pro Bowler with the Bills, and Super Bowl winner with the Dolphins.
Passed on in 76. He became a 2-time Pro Bowler at receiver. He switched to receiver. Yeah, a lot of black dudes back in the day. Such dynamic athletes. Probably would have been great QBs. Forced to switch positions. A lot of the guys who became Hall of Famers, like they were QBs. And because we live in a racist-ass world.
Yeah, I think that's part of it, but you also got to remember at that time, receivers really weren't athletic like that.
Yeah, they were. Receivers have always been athletic. It's just cats were
not like they are now.
Think about it. No.
They weren't
You still got
athletic
receivers
like
that run 4.4. You still got receivers that run 4.6s, bro. Cliff Branch was fast back then. There's always this is like the debate. There wasn't a debate. Me and my mom talked about this.
But even before then, I'm talking about even before then.
There were people fast like Jesse Owens before.
Briscoe is before all the shit that you're talking about.
Okay, but I'm saying Jesse Owens is before 1960.
You're talking about when receivers were really just like tight ends lined up outside.
The Packers had
to block.
The Packers had fast
block.
receivers. Wasn't Max McGee? They had fast receivers. It's just the receiver position wasn't refined as it is now. There's a difference between being refined. Like, fast people have always existed. That's why we have the Olympics.
Yeah, but I didn't say that fast people didn't exist. I just said the receiver position was different. Yeah, like you said, it wasn't as nuanced.
The dynamics weren't as
you ran a deep route or you blocked. And maybe ran a couple outs and a couple...
A button hook and a curl.
Basically.
You really didn't have to run a full route tree like that. Because Don Coryell and all that shit, when, the NFL wasn't really ready for all that yet. But a pioneer nonetheless. The Black QB Symposium just happened a couple weeks ago. Niners defensive coordinator and former Texans legend DeMeco Ryans was heading that, so it's good to see more and more people. That's getting more and more light. I think people really need to respect the fact that the only reason why there haven't been more black quarterbacks in the NFL is solely because of racism. Literally, if you break it down, Warren Moon probably would have been the all-time passing leader and touchdown leader if he wasn't forced to go to the CFL. They wanted him to play safety. Think about that. He lost into a Rose Bowl.
I literally did a story about all the undrafted players who went on to be Hall of Famers.
Is Antonio Gates in that story?
Well, he's not in the Hall of Fame yet.
He will be. He should be first ballot. I would say he's the greatest tight end of all time.
We already talked about this, but yeah.
No, because he went undrafted. He out of all the undrafted players, he leads all undrafted players in touchdowns and receiving yards. Out of everyone who's ever played football. Antonio Gates is there. I think he has 117 touchdowns. That shit's crazy. Brock was a second-round pick. He was supposed to be good. Would have been a first-rounder had he not broke his back. And the fact that he lived up to the hype, that's great, but a dude who's a six-rounder, that's why Brady's so great, because he wasn't even supposed to exist. Versus a Dan Marino, who literally, had all the God-given ability from day one. But yeah. On to the real part of the show I couldn't wait to get to. I was purposely saving my voice just for this segment.
It's not going well.
I'm trying. I've been talking a lot of shit the past couple hours, and I forgot to get those cough drops. But, college football news?
Yeah.
So, all y'all who laughed at me, mocked me, cast me aside, looked at me like I was leading you astray, like I was a fool in a man's body, all owe me a fucking apology because USC and UCLA it came out today They are leaving the Pac-12 as early as 2024 to go join the Big Ten Conference, and now the Pac-12 is officially on death watch. And they ain't going to recover like the Big 12, because the Big 12 at least got a bunch of teams, and they're going to refortify the conference, and they really won't miss Texas and Oklahoma like that. USC and UCLA are the cachet academically, globally, and athletically. You can talk all the shit you want about Oregon and Oregon State, Washington, and yada yada. UCLA is the hardest public school in America to get accepted into. USC, probably one of the richest schools in the entire country and the world. Their endowment is probably more than the GDP of most countries. And they have a litany of alumni and connections and all that. So, now that USC and UCLA are going to be gone, the only sports that are going to be remaining, I think, is volleyball. The PC3 not looking too bad, is it, Pete? I need that apology, sir, on wax. I mean, I got it on Twitter, but, on the show would be even better.
Apology for what?
Admitting that the PC3 has to happen. Because the Pac-12, if they stay the way they are...
You want me to say that it has to happen?
It has to happen. The Mountain West now has the best time and all the leverage to go to the Pac-12 and say, hey, we got to combine. And you got to help raise our revenue levels. Because let's be honest, our Mountain West schools be whooping y'all ass on the regular anyway. San Diego State clapped like 5 of your schools. San Diego State went 5-0 against the Pac-12 last year. Boise State routinely beats the shit out of Pac-12 schools. Let's talk about it. Now that USC and UCLA are gone, the two most strenuous academic schools, honestly, in the whole Pac-12, let's really look at it. Arizona State's a party school. Arizona, yeah, their academics are probably middle of the road. Like, what other school? Stanford, that's the only one you got left. And guess what? They're not national contenders anymore. So who's Cal? Okay, but again, they're in the same boat as Stanford.
I'm just going to say this. So I'll just say basically what I said on Twitter. The issue with the PC3 was never talent or football. The issue was always academics. The Pac-12 has some of the most vigorous academic requirements, and that's why
not anymore.
The Mountain West is more...
Bro, San Diego State's a hard school to get into.
But not as hard as UCLA or UC Berkeley or Stanford.
Or USC.
But that's why the Mountain West is kind of second tier in terms of academics.
But hey, now
what I will say is, in order for, basically, the way I look at it is USC and UCLA pretty much just took their ball and went home.
They took the state of California.
Like, they were just like, oh, the Pac-12 sucks, we're going to go somewhere else. But it's like, it just made me think of that TikTok. Like, oh, me? Am I the drama? Like, y'all are part of the reason why there hasn't been a Pac-12 team to make the playoffs since 2014. Like, let's not duck any culpability over there because...
Wait, USC won the Rose Bowl?
The Rose Bowl, not the college football playoff.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Shit. Damn, yeah, because Washington got clapped.
Yeah.
Oregon can't win the big one.
So, with that, as much as, like, I think ultimately it's going to bring more parity to the Pac-12. I think teams, like you mentioned, Stanford, Oregon, they were already getting Southern California talent, but I think now they have an even stronger pitch. Like, hey, do you really want to go to USC and have to travel across the country for 7 games?
They're going to have to travel as much. People in the comments are already saying that. They're not going to have to travel as much. They're going to have to travel as much on the West Coast. They may only travel a couple times, but to one place, and then they come back to USC.
But what I'm saying is they're still going to have to travel to the Midwest at least 4 to 6 weeks a year.
They don't have to go to Oregon anymore.
Oregon is closer than Illinois or Iowa or
Oregon
Indiana.
Stadium is louder than some of most stadiums in the country.
Can you just let me finish my point? Because I'll let you talk.
I know. I'm just saying, like...
You're just saying what you want to say. You're not letting me talk.
No, I'm saying the competitive advantage of Pac-12 stadiums against USC, they don't have that problem anymore.
Okay, I'm not talking about USC or UCLA. I'm talking about the other teams and their pitch to get more Southern California talent. Is you don't have to worry about those 4 to 6 travel games where your family's going to have to pay more to travel. You're going to have to worry about even more disruption with your NIL and your academics. Or you can just come up here where it's a lot closer. Your family can drive to come and see you. And guess what? We still have name recognition. We still have tradition. We have uniforms. We have facilities. And, oh yeah, guess what? We also have tech money, entertainment money, alumni. And there's a whole bunch of regional advertisers that you could tap into. Here, it's like, yeah, there might be more money for the big names with that bigger super conference. But 1 through 70, 1 through 90, they're going to be able to get more bread from working with smaller regional advertisers, whether you're talking about like a lot of financial services are regionally, real estate companies, a bunch of shit, car companies. A lot of things are still done regionally. So USC is going to leave a lot of that on the table for those 4 and 5 stars that go there and never end up playing. And a lot of those guys, as we've seen with the transfer portal, end up transferring anyway. So, and they're transferring to the San Jose states and the San Diego states and the Boise's and etc. To your point, which is like, well, might as well piece together and actually try to build something. And so that's where I'll say that you're right. I don't think it's ever going to happen or it's realistic, but yeah, it probably should happen because essentially if you take those 20 to 25 teams west of Oklahoma, you can build a pretty solid league. Fuck a conference. You can build a solid league with 26 teams west of fucking Oklahoma and have them and have teams that are sorry. You have teams that are powerhouses. You have teams that are in the middle. And you can have them all battle it out amongst each other exclusively. And you just say Texas, Oklahoma, New York, Florida, we're not playing you guys. Like, we'll play you guys if you let us into your playoff. But outside of that, we're just going to do our own shit. Fuck you guys. And guess what? That's going to be a lot more attractive to keeping that talent here as well because you're getting more opportunity. The ceiling for the bottom for the money is much lower. You're going to get to play against people that you know and you see. Your people are going to be able to see you on TV and also go to see you without having to leverage a fortune. So, to your point, if they did actually want to build it, they could actually build something that would exist and be great outside of the college football playoff, outside of the traditional bowl games. And they could build their own shit, basically.
I agree with your points because it's when I was thinking of the PC3 and what it would look like. I thought of that as a potential problem.
And, I mean, you could do it either way. You could do it where 2 sub-conferences and have them play each other and then play in a championship game. You could do it where, like, the Pac-12 does it now where it's like, they only play certain teams in their division every year and then the rest are kind of at large.
This episode is sponsored by Pizza Hut.
Depending on what's going on. And Kelsey. And, or you could even, like, there's so many ways you can do it. Because there is that much, there's that many teams and they're all relevant in different ways, regardless of if they win or not. They bring something to the table.
And here's another $1 million idea. USC doing this really forced the Pac-12's hand, and UCLA going is like they're a package deal because they're the two premier schools on the West Coast. I don't think Stanford's won a national championship in this era. UCLA might have. I don't really remember. But UCLA has the most championships out of any school. Like, outside of football. Every other sport, they have like the most championships all time. So you take two of the winningest athletic and academic programs and say, we'd rather go to the Big Ten and just beat up the Blue Bloods in the Big Ten. Because our reach, hell, they got California kids all over their rosters. Michigan, Ohio State, Wisconsin, all these places.
But my whole thing is, I feel like you're just opening the door for them to get more of your recruits, especially if you're not going undefeated every year.
But here's the thing. That was already happening. California recruits were... COVID might have been the best thing that happened for California recruiting because all these guys stayed put. The ones who normally would have got scholarships, they went to a JUCO, they went in the portal. The ones who went in the portal left. They were good anyway. But the ones who, like, the schools who needed recruits and players, well, if you're Sacramento State, you don't have time to recruit out of state. You're going to go to the portal, you're going to go to JUCOs, you're going to find someone in Cali, and one of those better recruits are going to drop down to you. You know, let's say if you're in the Big Sky Conference. There's a trickle down because California is so talent rich. Now, you factor that in with the SEC is clearly closing its ranks, and they're saying, screw you guys. If we're going to have an Alabama-Georgia national title game, clearly conferences don't mean anything anymore. This is all regional now. The SEC could eventually do their own combine, bro. Think about it. They can do an SEC 7-on-7, an SEC signing day. They already have the SEC network. Texas has its own network. USC can start its own network with their media empire and things going. Like, USC and UCLA want in on big time. They want to get back in the national picture. And what better way of getting back in the national picture than, okay, if Notre Dame comes to the Big Ten, then it's a wrap. It's over. Conferences are dead. The Pac-12 will cease to exist, and they will have to become a mega West Coast conference. They'll have to do it. And just say, look, we're the West Coast Conference. You cover these 20 teams when you're on the West Coast. Anything on the West Coast, that's us. Formerly known as the Pac-12 Conference. But then you keep the history of the Pac-12, the history of the Mountain West, and then you combine all of that together and you put on, like, what the ACC is doing. They're not having conference alignment after 2023. They see the writings on the wall, too. There is no more conference alignment in the ACC after 2023. It'll just be certain rivalries, like Clemson will probably always play South Carolina, even though that's the SEC. Like Pittsburgh and Miami will play each other. Don't eat to the mic, jackass. Yeah. So
You're just mad because it's your segment you can't eat.
That's true. That is true. But yeah, so you factor all that in, bro. And again, my idea still makes the most sense. Now you have to do it. Now you have to share revenue. Now you have to close ranks. Now California has to realize, oh, we're on our own. So we got to adopt all these other states on the West Coast. We got to become a fist because the Midwest now has USC and UCLA. You've already lost. If this was war, or this was the hot gates in 300, you've already been breached. All you can do is rally around San Jose State, all these schools that will look down on. They still send cats to the NFL. Hell, maybe revive Sonoma State. Hell, you might have to look at giving Northridge a football program this time. I mean, like, what else are you going to do? Arguably, the American, what's it called? The American Athletic Conference is better than the Pac-12 right now. Arguably. And that's the sad part. Because Oregon can't get it done. We've already seen that.
Well, the question is, if Oregon goes undefeated, do they have a shot at making a playoff?
Only this year. If they go undefeated 2 years from now, it won't mean shit. This is like the Pac-12. This is their last shot to be culturally relevant. Once USC and UCLA leaves,
they'll probably still
schedule goes out the window, bro.
They'll probably still play those teams out of conference, though.
It won't mean shit, though. It won't mean anything. Because you're not getting the money from playing USC anymore. They're not revenue splitting with you. They're getting a bigger bag. They're national. They're prime time. USC, this deal, hell, USC is like, hey, man, fuck the SEC. And we don't really care about the Big 12 either because we see what they're doing. And these smaller conferences, we don't even really want to play non-D1 schools. Because remember, they were going to play a non-D1 school or HBCU, and USC they've never done that. They're the only school that never play non-D1 schools like that. They go to the Big Ten, hell, you could just play Rutgers and Maryland. There you go. You need an opponent? Go play Maryland. Go play Rutgers. Now, really, it'll just be what? The ACC, the American Athletic Conference. I mean, the Sun Belt exists, but who cares? They're going to bring the WAC back, but nobody cares. The Pac-12 is going to be dying. The Mountain West legitimately could just add all these other teams. Like, there's rumors the Big 12 is talking about trying to add Oregon, Arizona State, Washington, and Arizona. Think about that. Like, the Big 12 could just expand to 16 teams. And now the Big 10, you can say they're the Big 10 again, because now they have, well, actually, no, now they're 12. Now they're going to have 14. They're going to damn near have 14 conferences. You're going to be damn near seeing Big 10 schools playing 16-game schedules. Almost.
No, they won't. They'll play a rotating schedule.
But anyway, the SEC...
They don't need to play Rutgers every year, bro.
Yeah, but they won't. But they might. But the SEC plays a maximum of like 15 games every year. Now, I add Texas and Oklahoma to that. The SEC is going to be playing 16 games.
They're not going to be playing that much.
But, like, if they make it to the national championship game of the playoff, they could end up 16-0.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
True.
Same thing with the Big Ten. What you think I'm going to pick a 15 and you think I'm going to pick a 11-0 or 12-0 Oregon over a 15-1 Texas? In what reality is that going to work? And now they got Arch Manning. So now recruiting has become regional.
But here's the other thing.
National.
Here's the other thing, right? And that's
done for.
And right now you're talking about the good side of it. You're talking about if USC goes in there and does what they're supposed to under Lincoln Riley and all the talent they've amassed through the transfer portal and recruiting
for money or resources.
But the other side of it is they got to actually beat Penn State. They got to beat Ohio State. They got to beat Michigan. They got to beat Michigan State. And UCLA has got to not fucking lose to Maryland, Rutgers,
boat race 8 games a year,
etc.
Northwestern,
because Nebraska, because they could easily go 2-8 in the Big 12. I mean, in the Big 10. So I don't know, man. We'll see, but it's like even when Texas and Oklahoma moving to the SEC, we talked about it. We talked about it, and it's like, yeah, off brand recognition and resources and money and name, it all makes sense. But realistically, the jig is up. Either Oklahoma's going to continue the success they have, and Texas hasn't even been able to have success or even put motherfuckers in the league, which was at least what you could say about them. So, yeah, I don't know. I think ultimately the way it's looking is we need to just stop playing. Fuck conferences and just fucking...
Well, this move officially kills the conferences.
The Power 5 is already the Power 2, so let's just make it a fucking Power 1.
It's really a Power 3.
And make a fucking NIAA for everybody else.
The ACC might try to scoop up.
Let's make a college football playoff, and let's make a fucking secondary playoff.
No, it's going to be a regional thing. It's going to be a regional playoff. They're going to have to expand the playoff now. It can't be 4 teams because it's going to be 2 Big Ten schools and 2 SEC schools. And then 2 SEC schools and 1 Big Ten school are going to bitch and complain about they didn't get in. Like, that's what's going to happen. If USC loses 1 game to Ohio State, but they beat Michigan, and then they can't be in the playoff with all that talent and all that money and resources, they're going to lose.
So after 2024, if you have 11-0 Oregon team and 11-0 Cincinnati team,
they can't be the 12-0 Boise State team.
An 11-0 Boise State team.
Cincinnati's not repeating, bro.
And an 11-0 fucking Baylor team. Like,
Baylor's
who are you putting in?
Baylor's getting the nod
over Oregon.
Yeah, because Baylor had a resurgent year the past 2 years. They won 11 games this year, which is a record, and they won their major bowl game.
So you're saying an 11-0 Oregon team
ain't shit. Who'd they beat?
Okay.
Unless they play.
It's confusing, bro. I'm just trying to set the record straight because you're the first person to bang the table for those 11 and 12-0 teams in those smaller conferences, and now you're kind of being hypocritical in a hypothetical sense of overlooking Oregon if they were to go undefeated.
Price is not today's price. The price of the brick has changed. Have you not been paying attention? The price of the brick is different now. It's higher. The shit just went up. Higher than inflation. Higher than elephant titties. Okay? Think about it.
But pretty much what you just said.
Oregon can't play USC every year, and Oregon gets the nod if they beat USC. But if they lose to USC, we say, oh, they're Oregon. They never won the big one. So and Oregon beat the dog shit out of USC.
Wait, hold on. So let me just set the record straight. Basically, what you're saying is the Pac-12 is the worst conference.
It is now officially the worst conference. Is it even a conference anymore?
They still got 10.
Utah ain't never won. Utah got boat raced by Ohio State. Let's just be honest. It was a great game, but Ohio State was clapping their cheeks. 3 receivers go over 100 yards. Marvin Harrison Jr. has 3 touchdowns. You were in no way winning that game, Utah. Sorry. And now that USC might beat the dog shit out of Utah. Because look at all these transfers. Look at, like, the offense. Like, they were tame in that spring game. They didn't show everything in the spring game. Because that's just the smart thing to do. Like, the pass rush will hold up. The 5-star corners, Dermontti Jackson and other guys, they haven't even gotten there yet. We didn't even see most of the guys who are going to be playing in the secondary for USC this year. And they got a safety from Ohio State transfer. So what I'm saying is, Oregon and UCLA leaving devalues the Pac-12. Now you don't get the benefit of the doubt because USC is a blue blood. They're original. If they win 10 games, they're supposed to win 10 games. It's like when the Lakers finally lost to the Pistons and everybody was shocked. And then let's say on a random night they lose to the Bobcats and everybody goes, what the fuck? The Lakers lost to the Bobcats? The Bobcats are like, we're a respectable team now. You have to respect us. They're like, no, we don't. You're the fucking Bobcats. You could go 82-0 and we wouldn't be impressed. But, like, the USC is a dynasty. UCLA really just gets the rub because they've been around long enough and they recruit so good that they're always going to have talent, even when they suck on the field. So USC going to the Big Ten makes the Big Ten a permanent enemy to the SEC, and that conference could very well tip over. Like, the balance of power now goes to the Big Ten. UCLA, they're a wild card, but USC can knock out a bunch of SEC schools.
In theory, but they haven't.
Think about it. Ohio State.
In theory, but they haven't.
Ohio State just signed 3 5-star receivers, and just had 2.
I'm not even. That's what I'm saying. I'm not even worried about the SEC. They got to do their shit in the division first. I got to see what they look like.
LSU's going to be on the.
We know Ohio State is going to be a fucking dogfight. We know Ohio State can put together the speed to beat USC consistently. Michigan's going to be tough.
Georgia ass whooping.
Michigan's going to be tough.
And they got
USC's going to have to mentally prepare for that one.
Nut up or shut up.
And even a team like Michigan State can rough them up.
Yep.
Penn State, they're like the best second tier team every year.
USC and Penn State are mirrors of each other. I'll go back to that Rose Bowl. Like they're mirrors of each other.
So like Nebraska and UCLA.
Yeah, except Nebraska has way more excuses to be trash. UCLA has no. I don't want to hear shit from UCLA football fans. You've had 15 years to win a national title, and you couldn't fucking do it. Like, bro, I'm 30. When we were 15 in fucking high school, and you had the chance, when USC got put on probation, what did UCLA do? Shit their pants and piss down their leg for 15 years. Under, 6 different head coaches? I don't want to hear that shit. UCLA will never be a power in football. Sorry, Jonathan Ogden is not walking through that door. Gary Edwards, Roman Pfeiffer,
Freddie Mitchell, Deshaun Foster.
Don't ever say Freddie Mitchell again, bro. It's fucking disrespectful. I know these
Kenny Young, Todd Barr, Miles Jack.
Don't forget Kenny Clark.
Kenny Clark, Tack.
Maybe
Tony Dye.
Tony Dye. Wow. Dennis Keys.
That's
one of the best.
That's a conflict of interest for me to shout out IE players that nobody else knows.
That's true. You forgot. I said Dennis Keys though. Salute to Dennis Keys. You remember who Dennis Keys is? Light skin dude with braids. Number 11 used to knock people the fuck out. UCLA used to have a tough ass secondary. Like people were afraid to play UCLA. Not anymore. When you look at the ACC has Clemson, so they're gonna find a way to pull it all together. And they might even take a Pac-12 school, or they'll take a American Alliance Conference school, or they'll find somebody to take. Hell, Notre Dame is already playing an ACC schedule. So if Notre Dame goes to the ACC, that's like, okay, Big Twen's like, well, we couldn't get Notre Dame, but at least they went to the ACC and not the SEC. Even though it's in Indiana, and that's probably going to really hurt you. I don't think Notre Dame wants to if Ohio State every year.
If that happened, if I'm Florida, I would try to go to the ACC.
Florida? Why the fuck was Florida ACC?
Why not? Why be in the SEC and be fucking the 9th team?
Nah, bro.
When you go to ACC and be the 2nd team.
No,
But all the Florida teams are in ACC.
Florida State.
They play those teams anyways.
Florida State's in the ACC.
Isn't Miami in the ACC too?
Yep, that's where they should stay. Florida Florida beats Alabama sometimes. Florida has Anthony Richardson, who could probably be a top 5 pick in 2 years. Like, Florida has no problems getting people to the NFL. Like, so they're right there. Like, they're in the 2nd tier next to Georgia in the SEC East. That's really the only competition in the SEC East is Florida. Georgia, that's...
Per Big Cat Bryant, the best team in Florida is UCF, though.
Technically speaking, yes. Based on records and mathematics. Technically, yes.
I think that's about it for college football. You pretty much looked at...
I got one last thing. So this is actually huge news. We already said the Big 12 is looking at the Pac-12 schools, but so the Big 12 landed Rock Nation COO Brent Yormack. He's going to be the successor to the outgoing Big 12 commissioner, Bob Bowlsby. Now, if you know anything about Rock Nation, they're highly successful. And they have their hands into everything. If you get a dude with the mind of Rock Nation with direct contacts to Jay-Z to run the Big 12, holy shit. You think NIL is crazy now? Dogs. Cats. All the fucking animals. Let me tell you. If Jay-Z gets his hands on the Big 12 conference entertainment budget, Do you understand the stranglehold he will have? If they can bring in, they already have Houston in the Big 12, so if you can bring in Jay Prince and Jay-Z of Rock Nation, because you're already going to have the COO there. If you can somehow get Jay Prince and Jay-Z working with the Big 12 Conference in football, I don't think I need to finish that statement, but that's a lot of business and money to be made. That's a whole lot of entertainment. That's money that, forget football, just the entertainment value of what the Big 12 could put on, because it's Rock Nation and all the Rock Nation artists that would come through there who would be getting and pulling kids agent-wise, NIL money you can get. You would see an influx, again, of California cats going to Oklahoma. Why? Yeah, they're sponsored by Jordan, but yeah, Rock Nation. Like the commissioner of the Big 12 is a dude, Rock Nation, that ties straight to Jay-Z. Why would I pass that up? Yeah, the Big 12 is nice. USC is an island on its own. Is a paradise on its own. And now the Pac-12 ain't going to get none of that USC money. That's going to hurt. Trust me. You don't have another USC. Oregon ain't won a national championship, and honestly, that window's closed. Because they've already gotten 5-star talent. They ain't done shit with it. And the 5-star talent they do have, a lot of it's been hurt. So, yeah, that's huge news. It kind of went under the rug. But keep it, telling you, a couple of years, Rock Nation, Big 12, Jordan, if you find a way to see cats involved, it's coming. I'm letting you know. Oh, yeah, and RG3 got into Baylor Athletic Hall of Fame. Salute to RG3.
All right, so moving to touchdown or turnover. First off, NFL announced that they will not have a supplemental draft again. I think this is, third year that they're forgoing the supplemental draft. So touchdown or turnover, Kenny?
I'm honestly going to call it a turnover. At this point, they should have it, especially with all these cats who didn't get to play. You should find a way to have a supplemental draft.
Yeah, makes sense.
You brought back everything else. You're about to bring back the XFL, but you're not going to have a supplemental draft. There's enough people and manpower to do it. The NFL can't really afford to let go of the supplemental draft.
I mean, if anything, it might be needed more now than ever, just because there's so much movement and freedom from the players.
Or maybe now the supplemental draft is going to be on colleges. It's going to be on the NCAA to put that on. Who knows? That would actually make them legitimate. Because we know right now they're not.
All right, next up. Daniel Snyder refuses to answer subpoenas from House Oversight Committee. Touchdown turnover.
Definitely a turnover. You can't keep saying no to the feds, bro.
Yeah, so I mean,
I don't give a fuck what you say about the NFL. You can't keep saying no to the feds. He's purposely turned down their subpoena because he was doing a shadow investigation with the NFL against the people investigating him in the NFL.
But yeah, so basically his attorneys and spokespeople are saying that he's not refusing it, but he hasn't appeared, so I don't know. I do know he needs to stop wearing that fucking dumbass Letterman's jacket. Alright. Next one. I'm going to go with, here we go. Eagles wide receiver Davion Allen is headed to the track championship for the 110 in the U.S. Devon Allen. He's running the 110 hurdles at the World Championships. Touchdown or turnover?
I mean, he's been fast his whole life, so the fact that he ran like a 4.32 pretty much, and he's been out of football like, 3-4 years? Sprinter sprint. Marquise Goodwin can still probably run at a high level. That's how fast. He still has like a 96 speed rated in Madden. He got a 4.27, but he's so fast, he can like Ted Ginn, he can be fast for a long time because of how refined and trained he is. Sprinting is an art form, man.
Especially, like, knowing how to sprint, like, at maximum capacity, like, consistently all the time. Like, because there's a lot of people that are fast. But, like, you mentioned Ted Ginn, it's like, that's what he's been doing day in and day out. Like you said, sprint for 20 years. So it's like, it's nothing for him to run 50-yard go route. That's a warm-up.
Because if you can be one of the fastest people in the world running hurdles and not running hurdles, that shit is crazy. It's almost like boxers have to register your hands. You got to register that you're one of the fastest human beings on earth.
All right. Bengals running back Travion Williams will be an adjunct professor at his alma mater, Texas A&M. He'll be teaching a class on NIL with a sports agent. Touchdown or turnover for Williams.
Touchdown, but I remember like 2 years ago this should be an NCAA violation. Crazy. Like someone would lose their eligibility over him doing this.
Yeah, and they were talking about it, and they're like, yeah, it's a good thing because it's not someone who was in the game 10 years ago who wished they would have had it or whatever. Like,
he's the all-time leading rusher in school history.
He's been in the mix. He caught different kind of iterations of it as it was being developed. So it gives the students extra reason to take the class because it's not just some white agent telling you. It's someone who, benefits and would benefit co-signing it, basically.
Yeah.
All right, last one for touchdown or turnover, but the Anthony Edwards football hype continues.
Whoa, you're going to skip the main one?
That's not even a touchdown or turnover, bro, and that's really a tangent, and it's really not.
I mean,
there's nothing really to comment about.
Franchise, man,
if anything, you could talk about that in your rants, bro. That's what I'm saying, man.
I saw the Anthony Edwards video too, and I was like, damn, QB.
But yeah, he threw about what 60 yards down the field.
And he looked like he was sidearm.
Quick release, yeah.
Like he just chucked it. Like had he been properly trained, he would have probably thrown 80.
That's pretty much what Tom Brady said. He was like, "You're playing the wrong sport."
He's like, I know you're making way more money, but like, and he's like, well, Gronk is retired. What's up?
He said he also wants to get a tryout with the Falcons, but touchdown or turnover, Anthony Edwards flexing in football.
That's a touchdown. He said he was a downward athlete in every sport, and it's looking to be true. He was like, pick a sport, hopscotch, baseball, all that. Like, even stuff I haven't played, I'm just good at everything I try. And honestly, I'm rooting for the Timberwolves to finally get over the hump. So
it's hard not to be an Anthony Edwards fan.
Yeah, like out of Georgia, I didn't realize he was that dynamic of an athlete and how like prolific of a scorer he was.
And how much he don't give a fuck.
Yeah, he gives 0 fucks. But then when I saw him, like, and he talked about like the Golden State workout, and he's like, the only reason why I didn't go to Golden State is because like I wasn't conditioned enough. And then he realized how hard he had to work after that Golden State workout with Steve Kerr. And the scary thing is, imagine if he had gone to the fucking Golden State Warriors, bro.
Disgusting.
It's over. It's over for the next 15 years. Because he fits in perfectly. He don't even need to play the 2. He needs to play the 3. He'll be doing what Wiggins is doing. But then he's going to be a starter, so you flex Draymond in the center. That's fucking scary, bro. By the way, that NBA draft or something else. Even though really none of us cared about it. Look out for the Thunder, because Chet Holmgren, Shy.
Bro, that meme they sent was fucking hilarious.
The one where Paolo had the Prince outfit on?
No, where it was like the Thunder's GM when he trades all his picks to get Kevin Durant, and it was a picture of Thanos. I'm inevitable.
Yeah, that shit was funny.
That shit was hilarious. All right, so first up, the NFL is partnering with Ice Cube. Basically, Ice Cube works with this organization. I forgot what it's called.
I'll click on it. Don't worry.
But yeah, Ice Cube is running this organization that essentially, is trying to help black businesses
economic equity initiative for Black-owned businesses. They got a contract with the Black America Institute, an initiative led by rapper Ice Cube with the intent of increasing economic equity and partnerships with Black-owned businesses. It includes like league-wide opportunities in the financial tech and production sectors to help close America's racial and economic wealth gap. And then, statement, the institute has been working closely with the NFL on identifying resources to build stronger, more substantive economic partnerships. With the Black community. Our team at CWBA, including my longtime business partner and entertainment lawyer, Jeff. Holy shit!
Okay, you really don't need to read the whole fucking article,
I can't say his
bro.
last name. I know it's Jewish.
We got it. We got the point.
But yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So
it's a step in the right direction.
Definitely a step in the right direction. My only tangent on it would just be like, at what point do these other leagues actually like bring Ice Cube into the fold? Like seriously, like
because the president
as a partner.
Because Biden failed at that. At least Trump was willing to listen.
Just because, I mean, he already did it with basketball in the Big Three. He's already got ties to the NFL. He's a lifelong football fan. He's part of the brand. Like,
he's part of the Raiders.
So at what point does XFL bring in Ice Cube as even just a minority owner or a, whatever, a consultant, like something with actual power to where he can actually help them sustain, find a niche, and make it successful?
They gotta first have an LA team in the XFL. They should honestly just bring back the uniform and the same team, the Wildcats. Like they were smart because that was one of the successful teams. You can't have the XFL and not have an LA team. Don't put all that shit in Texas and the Midwest. No.
Bring back the Extreme. The Extreme was hard.
Yeah, but guess what? The USFL, their championship.
Shout out to Tommy Maddox.
Yeah, the USFL, their championship is going down. Pittsburgh and New Jersey or something. I don't know. Like
I had LA Extreme gear.
Nice. But I'm saying, like, rather than bring on Jay-Z, who just clout chased and then pretty much put on shitty halftime shows that offended Mexicans and Black people and Latinos to some extension, because Jennifer Lopez hated the halftime show.
And drug addicts.
And on top of that, I'm not a gang member, so I didn't really appreciate seeing a bunch of Black people flip walking on stage and pulling their blood and kind of some disease. So I don't know why you thought that would be a good optic to just have Crips on stage. But, I guess you can get away with that when you're not in the gang life no more. You're making millions of dollars and you can promote that lifestyle. But most of our kids aren't gang members and thugs, Snoop. Neither were the kids that your parents.
Well, not even just that. I mean,
that was a bad optic for Black people.
I think the optic was worse for Snoop because he wouldn't even smoke a blunt on stage, which is like his whole thing.
No, he smoked it right behind Maria Taylor.
Yeah, but it was hidden. It was off camera. It wasn't on camera. You only saw it on social media. But if you've ever been to,
he still did it.
If you've ever been to a Snoop Dogg concert, appearance, show, anything he's at, he's always sparking up on stage.
I think you could smoke in
But for the NFL,
can you?
No,
can
you
smoke in
can't.
that building?
No, you definitely can't. Yeah. People do.
That's what I'm saying.
You definitely can't.
I mean, you definitely can't, but like people smoke in the Forum all day, every day. I don't think you can smoke maybe in that stadium per se.
You can, but people do.
Yeah, but that's my thing. It's like. That have to look back, because bro, you a 50-year-old man.
My thing is
with kids who have like his son has a whole fucking company about giving back to the homeless, and you crip walking on stage, bro. Like
my thing is, if you're gonna do one, don't pick and choose. Like don't say like
Cube, don't work with Cube.
Yeah, exactly. Don't just say like, oh, this is. It's just a harmless dance. I can do this, but I can't do this other thing that's actually even closer. That's actually even closer to your brand and your personality than crip walking.
And your kids weren't gangbanging, Snoop. Your kids ain't out here. Your kids are protected.
Plus, dog, YG be at every Rams game and he couldn't get on stage.
And Game still crying about how he couldn't get on. He started Kanye for a sex tape, so. And people still ain't listen to your music. So congrats.
Why you really hate Game, dog? You gotta talk about that.
No, I like Game, but then he does,
you hate
he
Game,
does
bro.
snake shit. He a snake ass person. You can tell. He fucked up G Unit because he was jealous of 50. How you come into some shit you didn't build and then hate on the person who put you on? And then the shit he said, Kanye did more for me than Dre ever did. And that's why Dre stopped working with your ass. That right there. He a snake. You can't trust Game. And gang members are all about.
I don't know.
People in LA.
Game has some.
His out of studio antics fucked up his career more than Chris Brown's. Like, think about it.
It's hard to.
Chris Brown gets his props more.
It's like you said. No, but it's like you said. It's hard to trust him because he pushes back on a lot of that shit. Basically saying like, my album was already done when 50 and Dre came into it, and they just kind of like finessed a couple things, and then they got all the credit for it. But
even if that was
whether or not I believe him or not, is to your point, is like
he's lied about a lot of shit.
I seen that dude at the Topanga Mall too many times.
He's lied about a lot of shit. He lied about the sexually assaulting that chick. That got proven true, and then he had to pay, and then he tried to file bankruptcy or some shit. It's like, bro, you don't have the trust of people who aren't from LA. New Yorkers already don't fuck with you because Wack is standing next to you. Like, you can't act like there's not politics regionally, and then when we see shit, like, people chose a side against Game and that G Unit shit. So you think when somebody hears G Unit, they probably were mad because they're Lloyd Banks fans. They're not even
I'm a Lloyd Banks fan.
Yeah. They're mad about what happened to Young Buck. That's fucked up. Tony Yayo. That's fucked up.
Nah, Tony Yayo's... We're better off without Tony Yayo.
I mean, we are, but, like, the game was still cool. Like, the video game, the Bulletproof video game was still dope.
But fuck you. The documentary still slaps. I'm
not saying it doesn't. People give Chris Brown love in his props. Not as much as they should, because they act like the Rihanna thing was one-sided when she was fucking him up in the car.
Here we go.
And almost crashed the car.
All right, let's move on.
But I'm saying, no, like, they were young and fucked up shit happened. And one of those people got to continue their life. And even though Chris Brown is...
They both continued their life.
He repaired his image, but, like, he would be so much bigger if that situation played out differently. It didn't happen at all.
Chris Brown is living his best life, bro.
He is, but my point is...
He has features with literally everybody in hip-hop.
People do not put Chris Brown on.
From the whitest of the white to the slimiest of the slime.
He did the Lil Dicky song. I know. It was dope as fuck. It was a great...
And the Bieber song, too. No, he did a lot of shit
with Bieber, too. No, but the Lil Dicky one was better because he's like, nigga, 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 but it's Chris Brown singing nigga while Lil Dicky's doing it. Like, it was fucking brilliant. It was genius marketing. And he literally freestyles dance moves for all his video. Like, dude's ridiculous. He's like a Michael Jackson level talent with tattoos.
All right, so can we move on from your dick riding of Chris Brown?
No, I'm not dick riding.
You always find a way to dick ride Chris Brown for no reason. Yeah, you do, bro.
No,
yeah, you do.
No, I don't.
Anytime we're talking about music, somehow you always dick ride on Chris Brown.
Like, I was drawing the parallel.
How many times have you brought up that fucking one Chris Brown album where he did like 50 songs, bro?
Heartbreak on the Full Moon was fucking.
You brought that up at least 1,000 times. At least 1,000 times.
Fucking fire.
At least 1,000 times. I brought it up for
a week and then I let it go.
No, you brought it up like after the fact, postpartum.
Because he had like hella slappers on that album. I thought it was going to be 30 and then like...
Alright, so can we move on to the next fucking subject?
Yeah, I was just saying Ice Cube...
Holy shit.
Ice Cube has more cachet than Game. And like Game is more of the Snoop Dogg kind of style.
This is why we don't pay for your music takes, man. It's like somehow you always find a way to hate on Game and to give Chris Brown props.
Because Chris Brown's better than Game.
But what I'm saying is is those two artists aren't related. They have nothing to do with the subject, but somehow they always come up.
Because Game always puts
like literally, you always hate on Game and you always prop up Chris Brown.
Because Game always puts
like literally anytime we talk about music, like it's really coming all together for me now, like because I'm realizing how much those two themes come up.
Game annoys me
in our retort. Fuck.
Game annoys me. I like YG more than Game now, and it wasn't always like that.
All right, Adrian Peterson versus Le'Veon Bell celebrity boxing match set for July 30th. Take or tangent?
AP in 2 rounds.
Honestly, I'll probably agree with you just because he's bigger.
No, AP made Jim Brown quiver. He made grown men quiver in pain because you shook their hand and it was like, oh shit, he has a fucking vice grip of God.
But what I will say is...
he was a freshman in college jumping 36-inch box jumps with fucking...
But what I will say is...
He's a freak of nature.
I'm not going to count out Le'Veon just because he's always been counted out, one. And two...
His album was terrible.
And two... I'm just excited that Adrian Peterson finally put up hands on someone his own size.
Wow. You were waiting to say that.
You know I was. You knew I was going to say something.
Why you always shit on Adrian Peterson? You shit on Adrian Peterson.
Because he got bodies, bro.
Way more.
But I respect him. I have to.
You shit on him.
I have to. He's the greatest.
Ever shit on games.
He's probably the greatest running back ever.
You have a serious problem with Adrian Peterson.
But he's like the greatest running back.
But it's ever. Like, you got to understand how he grew up. And that's
no, I like 19-year-old AP.
You were not on freshman year AP.
Yes, I was, bro. Heisman candidate.
Dick Ryder. Yeah, you probably said he sucked after the USC game, didn't you?
I kind of did, but yeah.
Yeah, because he held 81 yards. Because guess what? That's the only person that USC said, you're not beating us, Adrian Peterson. And he had 81 yards. He had 81 yards in a stacked fucking box.
Of NFL cats.
Doesn't matter.
An NFL box.
Linebackers and safeties, not really D-line. I don't know, more D-linemen and a couple linebackers, not really safeties.
Yeah, not safeties. But
Darnell Bing was pretty much a linebacker in the NFL.
What about Darnell Bing? I actually like Darnell Bing.
Of course, everybody loves Darnell Bing. He went to Long Beach Poly, if I'm not mistaken. He's part of that legendary Long Beach Poly class.
Was he better than Taylor Mays?
Technically. As far as impact, he got more picks. I'm for sure he got more picks than Taylor Mays.
All right.
Taylor Mays is the game of USC safeties.
Next one, USFL championship. Take or tangent.
We'll see if it's a success. I mean, it's definitely a success for the state of Alabama. They got some revenue out of it. The best team in the league ended up losing a fucking 81-yard punt return. That was crazy. Some of these guys might get a second shot at the NFL, but most of them are not NFL caliber. You can tell.
All right.
But good for them. It's a shame the XFL didn't get, their first full season back in their second relaunch. But I guess they're taking more time now, this time around.
Because of the 10 years they took between the first and second iteration.
Well,
yeah, whatever.
COVID's
whatever.
Whatever. COVID's not
whatever.
You really hate on the XFL.
All right, last one. Hopkins hopes the NFL will reduce his suspension due to contamination. Take or tangent?
They're not.
Nobody gives a fuck about the Cardinals. Sorry.
Really? You swapped out that one? You added that one?
Yeah.
You had to have added that one because I was like, they don't ever fucking give you a little preview on drug testing.
All right, so
you're right.
So let's get to the rants.
So, it's an interesting week.
And then get to the pizza.
Yes, indeed, John. So, I'm a pretty tough person. Mentally, spiritually, physically, I would say so. But it's amazing how allergies can just turn you into a whimpering fucking husk of a fucking shell of yourself. For real, I was dying at the beginning of this week. All because some fucking pollen that I accidentally sniffed walking outside of my job. I was like, why the fuck is there pollen here at 11 o'clock at night? I was so mad. Took one, wanted to get a whiff of fresh air. And I'm just like, oh shit, this is going to come back to get me. Took a bunch of Benadryl. Took a bunch of Claritin. Took a bunch of Dayquil. And I was like, you can't be taking that many pills and cough medicine. You could die. I'm like, I'm kind of already dying.
It does say that. You're not supposed to combine them.
I didn't combine them. I took them within 30 minutes of each other.
That's literally combining them.
Well, the shit wasn't working fast enough. What can I tell you? But the Benadryl worked. I blacked out and came to. Pretty much it's like been surviving off water and orange juice and ginger ale. So much fucking ginger ale. Like, for people who don't understand why black people drink so much ginger ale, because it fucking works for us, okay? It does. Same way like Kryptonians are great under a yellow sun, it just fucking works for us. Don't ask me why, because I'm not going to tell you. It just works. It's just like fucking, what's that shit? Frosted Flakes. They're great. It just is. It is, so it is. It exists, therefore it is. Leave me alone. But yeah, I'm glad to like get this fucking sinus infection behind me because it's really annoying. And like that shit for real had me weak. Like it's amazing. Like just some fucking pollen can like fuck your immune system up. And just have you like just out for a little bit. But so me and Pete were had like an epic legendary Madden war. I beat him 2-1. And he decided, let's do
off some bullshit, but yeah.
I mean, nigga, you should have had the safety in the middle of the field. It ain't my fault. You should have ran a prevent defense. You already knew I was going deep. And it was your fault because you won the coin toss and deferred. I had no control over that.
In overtime.
You had the controller and it's your house, so...
But still,
You Chris Webbered it. You Chris Webbered it.
I did.
Then you...
Or J.R. Smith did.
You Atlanta Falcon did. I almost Atlanta Falcon did. But you like Atlanta Falcon did by like having nobody in the middle of the field. So that was crazy too. But I mean, I think my roster is better than yours as far as like Madden franchise fantasy drafts go. That's why we were like an hour late. That was part of it. Sorry, y'all. But yeah, my nephew was like, I'm sensing he's gonna walk any day now. Like, he's fucking with us. Like, I know he's fucking with us. Like, he stood up, like, too casual today. He just stood up on the bed and, like, gathered his footing, and I was like, your ass can walk, can't you? It's like, when somebody stands up and they gather themselves quickly, it's like, oh, you can walk. You could probably walk this whole fucking time. I'm telling you about these Geminis, bro. Like, I be learning something every day looking at my nephew. Sometimes I just make eye contact with him and not say nothing. He just look at me. And at that point, I know we're testing each other out. Like, all right. See you over there. But yeah, salute to everybody with kids. Goes out to all the people who are affected by Roe versus Wade in a very negative way. So I'm going to pray for y'all because I can't really do shit for you. So, sorry. And, yeah. Thor Love and Thunder. That's the next Marvel movie. That pretty much has to save Marvel because I don't think Pete's ever going to watch another Marvel movie if Thor Love and Thunder are trash. Even though you didn't like Ragnarok for some reason, which that was the best one. This will probably be the best Thor movie too. You might cry too. Christian Bale's in it, so you know the acting is going to be on par. The story's going to make sense. But yeah, other than that, that's it for me. I'm going to get a strawberry frosty.
Alright. Been a crazy week for me, wrapping up at my new job, wrapping up my old job, trying to figure out my new job. But shout out to my girlfriend Kelsey for getting a new job. So that's dope. We out
here. Congrats!
We out here about to be
bravo.
About to be a upper middle class household now.
Tax bracket alert.
But outside of that, just trying to not lose my head in these last couple weeks and take it easy while I get ready for the next chapter. But yeah, outside of that, I mean, I don't know. I just randomly felt like doing a fantasy draft because I hadn't done one on the new one, and Yeah, my team is much better than yours. But other than that, it's 4th of July, and I'm excited to get into some festivities on Monday. Hoping I can take advantage of my 4-day weekend and do something, either camping or day drinking or maybe both. I don't know. But yeah, we'll see how it plays out. In the meantime, though, thank you for listening to us. You can catch us on the X Squad affiliates, FBC Radio, your favorite podcast app, touchdownsandtangents.com. Hopefully we'll be on time next week. Peace.
We will.